Okay, Ian, I don't know where to start. The last few weeks must have been a bit of a whirlwind, certainly as managing director of the club. I mean, can you talk us through it, sum up where you've been for the last couple of weeks since that Rochdale win?
I mean, beyond anything else, it's fantastic to be part of the football club at such a great time. We've had a fantastic season, accumulating in a trip to Wembley after what, a very emotional semi-final there for me. I can't quite describe all of the emotions that were going through my head at the time when we ended up winning on penalties against Rochdale. Fantastic. But yeah, with it has brought a load of extra work, and I think you don't realise how much goes into sort of the running and the setup of a Wembley trip, right the way from the logistics of getting our first team there to what we're doing with fans, to the merchandise sort of things that's going on around the club. And then, of course, trying to continue the day-to-day as well. So, massive operation down here now, and I don't think a lot of people who don't come every week understand quite what goes on in the football club itself. It's not just the first team football. We've got the ladies team now, and a ladies setup of 55 young lasses there in 3 different teams. Done really well this season. So our ladies reserves have been promoted in their first season. Our ladies development team have been promoted in their first season. We've then got everything that's going on with the youth. So some massive things that the chairman touched on this last week. Huge youth setup now of 350 kids. And we're now working back at Whitworth, doing loads of great things with the coaches there and making sure that works in a long-term model for the future. So that's the youth. We've got Moves in the Community, which was brand new 2 years ago, doing loads of community projects now, community meals, and all the things that go on there in the community realm. So all that's still happening, and we're doing all of this preparation for Wembley. But yeah, great time. And ultimately the job of the managing director, as you know well as anybody, I've just got to create the right environment for everybody to succeed really well, and that's the day-to-day job that I have. Massive team involved with the club, because there's over 200 people now in some role, whether it be voluntary, whether it be a youth coach, whether it be the bar staff, the guys on the grounds, and all I've got to do is make sure all these people are motivated to do the best they can do. And you superimpose that on a Wembley trip. Our job is to create the right environment for the lads on the pitch to do great things as well, and that'll certainly come.
I mean, you talk about that, the success that has come on all those fronts you've talked about there, not just the stuff that happens on a Saturday afternoon with the men's team. All of the success across the platform adds that volume, expands the amount of work, but it also creates that extra layer of excitement across the whole area.
Of course it does, and that is what the club is all about. And I use this phrase time and time again. It's not just about the 11 lads kicking the ball around. It's what it brings to the community, to the town of Spennymoor. That feel-good factor at the minute, you're walking around and everybody's talking about Wembley. Everybody's talking about Spennymoor Town Football Club. It's massive. It's massive for the town and it's massive for us.
And you talk about that feel-good factor. I mean, we've had the local news out on the high street asking people in the town what they think of this Wembley trip. How big an achievement is it for a club of our size, for a town of our size, to have 2 Wembley trips in the space of quite a short amount of time? It's 12 years since the FA Vars. It's an incredible achievement, really.
Yeah, I mean, you can count on one hand the clubs that have done that have got to the final of both the Vars and the trophy. And yeah, almost 12 years to the day that we're going down again, and then in the senior tournament now, hopefully, touch wood, another piece of silverware coming towards Spennymoor. I think back to the Vars days, and that's not because I was a fan screaming on in the stands and having a great time. It was probably because I was one of the only people left in Spennymoor on the day.
Really?
Yeah. So the date, the 4th of May, was the date of the final, but it was also the day of my first election count when I stood for local politics. So yeah, empty town. I was celebrating an electoral victory on the day, pretty much on my own, and everybody else was down in London celebrating Spennymoor's victory. So yeah, really good thing. But at least this time they're on 2 different days, and I'll be able to go to the match.
I was going to mention that because obviously over the last few weeks and possibly months, it's been maybe a little bit of a balancing act for you. You're obviously focused on the running of the club and everything we've touched upon there. But there's also the election that you're involved in, obviously, as well. Tell us a little bit about how you've managed to get those 2 entwined.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, a huge workload on both sides, and if there's anything I needed on top of the pile at the minute, it was the Wembley trip and everything else. But yeah, I've always tried to keep my political side and my footballing life as separate as possible. And I think over the last few months, and certainly as we've developed things in the club in the community realm, it's become more and more difficult to do that. And I think that's purely because the football club's there to do some really good stuff in and around the town, for the community, for the people of Spennymoor. and that's where local politics should sit as well. So I've found the two sort of ending up colliding and complementing each other. And of course, the two biggest things happening in the town at the minute are the Wembley trip for the FA Trophy and the fact that there's a local elections next week. So yeah, it's all together at the minute, but I think it could be very, very positive.
So yeah, you talk about what workload's gone in to make sure the operation's right in terms of the club and getting the players there, but we've also put an emphasis on making sure that as many fans as possible can get to Wembley on the big day as well. Tell us a little bit about that and how that's progressing and the help that you're getting or hoping to get.
Yeah, again, looking back to the Vase days, we took 16 coaches worth of fans down to the Vase in 2013, and I think that was the aspiration this time. Now, coach prices have gone up, everything's gone up, as we know, over the last 10 years, cost of living crisis, everything else. We wanted to do something really good to subsidise the fans' travel, and that's why the other week we advertised a £30 rate. Now, that was heavily subsidised, firstly by our coach provider. JH Coaches put in a £5 a head into a subsidy themselves, so brought £50 down to £45. Then we looked at the Back the Fans, Fill the Stands campaign, where we're going out to local businesses, public donations, asking the town council to get involved on creating a really good pot that would allow us to, hopefully, aspirationally, put another 16 coaches on at £30 a head. Now, it's been public this week, and very public, that the town council have taken the decision on this occasion not to contribute into that pot. That's disappointing for me. Again, when we talk about the meld between the football club and local politics, it's really disappointing, because I think what we absolutely need is some change at local level, so that what the local councils are doing is looking at supporting clubs like ourselves to do the best we can do, especially in Spennymoor. Now, you look at what the club does, and the chairman touched on this last week. Look at all of the things the club do that isn't football, that's about community impact, and this is the latest one. So this appeal isn't to put money into the football club's coffers. It was to reduce the rate on the buses for the people of Spennymoor to get down to Wembley and enjoy something which is going to be a one-off occasion.
How frustrating is that for you personally, but also as the managing director of the club? You're pulling these things together, and we've talked about the impact that the football club's having across this area, not just the town, across the local area. How frustrating is it that maybe we're not just getting that little helping hand? I
think it's really frustrating, and I think when you look at what other clubs at our level are getting, working in partnership with their local councils, and this isn't all about money, but it's about working in partnership, having some really strong links with the local authority, some really good backing to see clubs move on to the next level. Because as we progress, there's only positivity in that. There's only comes more community impact, whether that be 1,500 fans coming down on a Saturday and watching a match, or it be the 100 community meals going out a week, and all of these things that are happening in and around the community, because the football club is where it is. You would think that we would get a bit more support from local politicians in that, and certainly, without getting too party political on it all, that's what myself and my colleagues are aspiring to do the other side of the elections, should things go in the way that I think they should.
So we're approaching, a fortnight until the big day now. Where are we in terms of that travel side of things for the sports?
So nearly 400 people have booked onto those buses at that subsidised £30 rate. We're going to honour that, absolutely, it's the right thing to do. We've had some really good support from some local businesses, from public donations, and a big thank you to everybody who's got involved in that. We'll leave that campaign open, because what we've got now with the town council not coming on board is we've still got that deficit as a club. Now, what we'll do to tackle that is we will have a cut-off. We'll have a cut-off on Friday of where that subsidy, the level of that subsidised travel is stopped, and we'll then have the £45 rate, thanks to JH Coaches, which will book everybody on subsequently. So we will still try and get as many fans to Wembley as possible. We'll use the money we've already got and some contribution from the chairman and others in the club to honour the £30 rate for those who've got it.
And we spoke, we heard about when we spoke to Brad, the chairman, last week, and got his view on things, and it felt very much like what he was saying is that the club is almost coming to a crossroads at the moment.
Yeah, I think we've got two options the other side of May. Do we have some really good support from the local authorities, so from Spennymoor Town Council, from Durham County Council, to kick this club on? Or do we look at what the model is now? And I've always talked about sustainability whenever we've talked before, and the ultimate goal of the club is to do all of these things but be a sustainable, not-for-profit business at the end of the day, but sustainable into the future, so that we're not relying on the chairman anymore. I mean, you look at the effort and the investment and the commitment that the chairman Brad Groves has put into this club over the last 16 years, and it is totally inspirational. I'm a Spenny lad, he's not a Spenny lad. I'm a Spenny lad, and I've watched that as a fan and now as the managing director of the club. That's massive, but that's not sustainable. That can't go on forever. You know, we joke on, Brad and I, what happens if he gets hit by a bus tomorrow? Well, you know, that could all be it, but it doesn't have to be. So the two options now are, do we find our level and make sure that we're self-sufficient moving into the future, or do we get the backing of new investors, of the local authorities and of everybody else, the business community, new sponsors and everything else, to move us forward, not just up the football pyramid, but what we're doing around that and all the things I talked about before, developing the ladies setup, developing the youth, more community projects, and really putting this place on the map, because that's exactly what the football club does. It puts Spennymoor on the map.